Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. This is Thordrenick and today we are talking about, well, as you can see on the screen, the tree and its burning. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the story that's going into this and why a lot of players are disappointed with the direction that this story has been taking. So, if you haven't logged in yet to World of Warcraft this week and you haven't seen the cinematic that leads up to the Burning of Teldrassil, I would highly encourage you to go do that, to go watch that, because we are obviously going to be spoiling things here for you if you have not. So that's your warning. With that out of the way, let's talk about what happened. So with the events last week, we had the first week of the War of Thorns event, and there was a stalemate where the Horde was trying to push up toward Teldrassil, but they had been held off, at least temporarily. The Night Elf fleet had arrived with its army to reinforce us on the beach, and it looked like everything was kind of a stalemate for about a week. This week, the Horde forces were able to push through and take Lordanel, take all of Darkshore, and then as they were getting ready to push up toward Teldrassil, we had the Warbringers Sylvanas cinematic, and that resulted in Sylvanas burning the World Tree instead of capturing it, which was her original plan, supposedly. She ended up burning the World Tree because a dying Night Elf Ranger General told her, "I'm weeping for you, I'm mourning for you, because you've made yourself the enemy of life, and that's a battle you cannot ever win." And telling her, this is just paraphrasing, this is not an exact quote, but telling her that you can kill us, but you cannot kill hope. And Sylvanas' reaction was, well, can't I? Then she ordered her men, her army, to burn the tree. Now, why is this a disappointing story for us players? Well, first of all, it's not the most disappointing story that could have been told, and it is an obvious story compared to where everything looked like it was going. But the fact that it's obvious is, I think, the first reason that this is a little bit disappointing for a lot of us. Because we didn't know exactly how the tree was going to burn, even though the story was obviously pointing in that direction of it being the Horde doing it and it being Sylvanas doing it, because we were allowed to speculate, there were a lot of very cool and very interesting fan theories that started popping up. Things like, Queen Ashara was going to do it, and that would set up a villain that's going to play out later in this expansion. Things like our overpowered Azerite weapons, as we were all fighting on this tree, were just going to get too powerful and unleash the power of Azerite, causing this unbelievably chaotic accident and giving us a real demonstration of the power of Azerite, and just a reminder that, hey guys, maybe this isn't something you should be messing around with as we go into Battle for Azeroth and try to harness as much of it as we possibly can. Even theories like this was actually the doing of the alliance with the Horde army on the tree, burning it to deal a grave blow to their enemies who had invaded the Night Elf homeland. And you talk about a morally gray story right there. If the Night Elves, or if Anduin had ordered the burning of the tree to deal a great blow to the Horde at the cost of many, well, at least a city, even if not many lives of the Night Elves, all of those would have been unbelievably compelling stories. And instead we get, well, Sylvanas did it because reasons. She did it because she's evil and this is the enemy, blah, 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 whatever. So on that level, this is disappointing, not because of what the story is, but because of what it could have been and because of what it is not. That is something that has been disappointing to many of us in the player base. Another reason that this is disappointing is because this was not a morally gray action whatsoever. This is maybe more for Horde players than Alliance players, but we were led to believe, and we were, very clearly led to believe by certain quotes and certain answers in Q&A sessions, that Warcraft is not a world of black and white. It is a world of morally gray, and that actions taken in this world are not necessarily as obvious as they seem. Well, this was almost completely unjustifiable, right? So Darnassus was at this time completely void of military forces. The only people that were left in it were civilians. Sylvanas deciding to destroy it is unjustifiable from a war perspective. And it wasn't even her plan to begin with, right? Her plan was to capture the city, to, hold its people hostage, maybe, which, okay, is that a good thing to do? No, but it's an understandable thing to do in war. But to destroy a city with, just, I mean, look at that destruction with just chaos and fire, and bring death upon as many of its inhabitants as possible. That's not something that you can really justify, even in the context of war, because you're talking about non-combatants. You're talking about people who are not fighting you, who are willingly stepping down, and the decision to destroy them and essentially murder them all is not justifiable from a wartime perspective. So the fact that we were, told that we're going to walk away from the scenario with questions about, okay, was this the right thing to do? Maybe not, but it's understandable, it's justifiable. No, it's not. It's not at all. And many Horde players, I've even talked to some people who played Horde who are considering re-rolling to Alliance because of this, because they just can't get on board with the kind of actions that are being taken here. This is not a morally gray scenario. The only thing gray about this is the color of the ash that is falling out of the air. The morality is very clearly black. This is not to say that the Alliance are, completely good and upright and always doing the right thing, but in this scenario, we have a war chief who is clearly evil and who has aligned herself as the enemy of life and the enemy of hope. I don't understand how you can look at that situation and say this is a morally gray situation, this is a morally gray character. If you want a good example of a morally gray character, even within the context of the Warcraft universe, there are plenty there. Look at Illidan. Illidan is a character who does the right things, who does the wrong things for ultimately the right reason. Illidan's motivations have always been to save Azeroth, to save the world, even when he's done things like working with the Burning Legion, or transforming himself into a demon, or killing the Naru Prime Zera. His motivation has always been to save the world, to save lives, to save those that he loves and cares about, even when they hated him. Compare that to what Sylvanas is doing. She's doing all of this because she hates the idea of hope, because she hates the idea of life prevailing and finding a way. That's not a good motivation in any sense of the word good. There is no overarching sense of she is doing this for the greater good. Is she doing this for the survival of the Horde? Well, no, she's doing this because she was angry at a Night Elf Ranger General. She's doing this because she wants the whole world under her dominion. And this isn't something that is new to the Burning of Teldrassil either. I mean, read Before the Storm if you haven't already, and see how her motivations are very clearly driven by her own desires and her own goals, and are not for the greater good. I mean, we see some of her ideas in Before the Storm. One of the things that she wants to do is destroy the city of Stormwind. Maybe she just missed a little bit with Burning Teldrassil, but she wants to destroy the city of Stormwind and raise everyone in it as undead. Even for Horde standards, that is a really difficult thing to justify, if not impossible to justify. So the morality of the situation is not what we were led to believe and what we were told that it would be, that it would end up being. So that is something else that's been disappointing, particularly to Horde players who are forced to play along with this war chief and forced to play along with all of these actions. And third, kind of tying into that, the last thing that I think is really disappointing about the situation is that it seems like we've been here before. We have a war chief who is completely unhinged, who is provoking war, who is committing atrocities, and this seems like it's running the course of not to use the meme, but Garrosh 2.0. Garrosh Hellscream did all kinds of things that were not justifiable. Maybe you could argue from the Horde perspective that what he was doing was worse, because he was destroying some of his own people. He was, oppressing his own people, and Sylvanas at least hasn't done that, at least not yet. But we've had this story before of a war chief that has gone off the deep end, has done things that are not justifiable, and it looks like ultimately will need to be brought to justice. So we can hold off judgment on that, I think, for a little bit. This is something that a lot of players are upset about, but let's hold off judgment on that one, because we don't know where the story is going for the rest of Battle for Azeroth, right? We don't know that we're going to have a Horde rebellion against Sylvanas, although we might. It's been teased a little bit by the questions and answers that we've had, talking about how the heart of the Horde is still beating, and how people are going to start questioning Sylvanas. It seems like we're going in that direction. Maybe we're not, but it seems like that's the direction that we're going in. So let's hold off judgment on that one. But it seems like this is a story we've heard before, and that is disappointing too. All right, I've rambled on about this long enough. Why don't you guys let me know what you think about this storyline in the comments down below. Let me know if you are disappointed in the story, if you're excited about this story. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you're disappointed and I didn't cover the reason that you're disappointed or frustrated with the direction the story is taken, let me know what those reasons are in the comments, and let's see what kind of a discussion about this topic we can have. Thank you all for joining us. This is Thordrenic. This is my YouTube channel, and if you are new to the channel, if you're just finding it through this story video here, which I'm sorry, we just have the burning background. I'm not putting a lot of fun pizzazz on the screen for this. But if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, and you like the discussion that we're having, and you like some of the other videos that we've been putting out, consider subscribing to the channel. We're putting out multiple videos a week, and we have multiple live streams a week as well. So check those out. Come join us, hop in the chat, comment on the videos, and we're working to build a community together. I hope that you would enjoy being a part of it. Until next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and have a great day. Bye-bye.